So my first memory is we finally got to the mission field, and so my batch was like the first like set of missionaries to serve in the in the Provo MTC, and then serve some time in Manila. So we did 6 weeks in Provo and then 1 week in Manila. And so Manila MTC was like really nice, and they thought it would be like helpful for us to like join the culture. But even in the Philippines, the culture is much different from Manila than it is from Bacolod, which is where I served. So Manila is like at the top, and Bacolod is in the western Visayas. So it's kind of like in the middle-ish kind of thing. So yeah, it was way different in Manila than it was in my mission, and the language was different. So for me, the language was the hardest part, just because I knew how important it was to speak the language of my people. But it was very hard, and it's kind of a tonal language. So like saying it right was definitely difficult for me. So in Manila, in the MTC, they tried to do some more training with actual Filipinos with our language. And so we thought we were doing so well when we came from Provo. Like, we're like, yeah, we got this language down. Like, I have like 40 flashcards with my name, with the words on it. And we got to Manila, and they spoke Tagalog, which is now what we spoke. And so we felt so stressed out because we didn't know the language and we couldn't communicate, and it was very hard. But when we finally got to our mission, we started hearing words that we'd learned in the MTC, and so it was a lot easier. But one of the most important moments for me the first week I was there was the first day when we were in the mission president's home and we were having dinner. And I had been kind of bullied in the MTC about not being able to pick up the language. Like I couldn't pick it up at all in the MTC. And so I was very concerned about that. But one of the words in Ilonggo was one of the other missionaries from my batch was trying to show the AP how well she could speak the language. And she used one of the words incorrectly. And he was like, sister, you used that word wrong. Let me tell you. And he looked at me and he was like, do you know how to use that word, Sister Hale? And I was like, yeah, it's a verbal exclamation mark, whatever. And he looked at me and he like patted me on the back. He was like, good job, Sister Hale. He's like, that was really great. He's like, you're going to be a great missionary. And like, I started crying and I was like, no one's told me that yet. Like, thank you. And like for the rest of my mission, like anytime I struggled, I always remembered that AP telling me that. And like every time I saw him, I was like, Elder, you have no idea. Like that after that, I had confidence to learn the language. And it was like a tiny little thing. And he was just being nice and like, oh, good job, sister. Like whatever. But that impacted my entire mission because I thought, oh, well, if the AP thinks I can learn the language, then I can. And I did. And it was beneficial. So that was good. The first day I met my trainer, I was super excited to go and to like start working. And it was I had a trainer that was just like the movie, Best 2 Years. My trainer was not super excited. She was about to go home. And so I got there and I was like, let's go. And she was like, all right, we're going to study first. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had just eaten at the mission president's house. And it's so hot in the Philippines. So we sat down to study and I fell asleep on the table. And she let me sleep for the entire afternoon. So when I woke up, I was really upset. And I was like, I wanted to go out. Like, I can't believe you let me sleep this long. And I was really upset. So she was like, fine, let's go. Like, we'll go now. So we went out, and my first lesson, I was excited because she was like, all right, you're gonna speak. And I was like, okay, like I got this. I can, I have these flashcards with lesson plans on it. So like, all right. So I go out and they started talking so fast. And I was like, dude, I have no idea what they're saying. So I kept looking at my trainer, and my trainer was like, Sister Hale, I thought you learned this in the MTC. Like, she had never trained an American before. And so she was like, you should have learned this in the MTC. Like, why aren't you, she was like, speak, say what you know. And I was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And she was like, Sister Hale, we talked about this before we came. Like, we're talking about the plan of salvation. So then I was like, okay. And I just like sat there, and when I got home that night, I just bawled my eyes out. I was like, I'm never going to be a good missionary. I can't do this. Like, my trainer's mad at me. I can't speak, and I can't understand. It was hard. But luckily, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. In my house, there was 2 sets of sister missionaries. In the house was a Sister Malian, and she was very instrumental in helping me. My STLs, I went on exchanges with her. And she was Sister Smoo, and she was also very instrumental in giving me confidence, because as a new missionary, you're very unconfident, thinking that you're doing everything wrong, and people are trying to help you by like correcting you, and sometimes as a new missionary we take it the wrong way and we get offended or thinking that they think we're incompetent or we don't know what we're doing, and then that doesn't help even more. So yeah, it was a little hard to get going, but I was actually very prepared for the environment of the Philippines, for the culture, because of how I grew up, moving all around and going different places and stuff. So living in, like, not necessarily living in poverty, because like I was very well taken care of growing up, but living kind of in different circumstances, washing my clothes outside, eating food I wasn't super sure about. They were all things that I had already done before. And so it was easy for me to adjust to that aspect of it. And learning the language was just the issue that I had. So it was good because I could focus on that. But